Hello and welcome back to the Joe Gelhardt Appreciation Podcast. My name is Johnny and joining me we have Kieran. How are you doing, mate?
I think we should just stick with that name going forward. I'm happy with that.
I think we should. It's got a good ring to it. He's a great player. He came on late, right into it. But how's your week been?
Yeah, quite good. But I saw the mighty Liverpool FC get a 4-2 win over Stockton Town.
Good.
Leeds United played much better. Still not perfect. Would have preferred 3 points, but yeah. So for the most part, quite an enjoyable week.
Exactly. Obviously, 3 points would have been a positive, but I feel like the way we came back against Wolves, because I was there, the way the crowd really pushed the players over the line is what we missed potentially in the games that we played against Wolves last season. We mentioned last week about when's their scrappy goal going to come, and it did come. We ticked it off the bingo list, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't know. I just the goal, their goal. I think it's quite a poor one to concede. When that ball initially comes out to Wolves' right wing, our left, we've only got Jack Harrison out there to try and stop the attack. He gets skinned, he's not a defender, and that just opens up quite a lot of space on that right side. Cooper has to drift out. Obviously, if Cooper's had to drift out, that opens up space in the centre, and then there's kind of like it comes into Raul Jimenez initially, doesn't it? And he doesn't quite really get space to shoot, but somehow manages to stab the ball a little bit towards Hwang Hee-chan, and he's in acres of space. He's always going to finish from there. So I do think that a solid defensive player out on the left can do more to kind of stop that cross and stop Cooper having to drift out, leaving so there isn't as much space available in the centre for the ball to be easily found. So yeah, I was quite unhappy with the way the first goal was conceded.
Yeah, he's in decent form, Hwang Hee-chan, actually. I think he scored a couple against Newcastle, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and obviously got one at Ellen Road. He is in my fantasy team, but of course I wasn't celebrating at the time. That would have been a bit weird, and I'm still not celebrating. How just to clarify, YouTube and Twitter to make sure to get your comments in on the Wolves game. We're also going to be looking ahead to the midweek cup game against Arsenal at the Emirates and our trip to Carrow Road to face Norwich as part of the Super Sunday in a week's time. So get your comments in. Is it a good point? Because when you look at it, and I think it is a good point, we've brought on a 19-year-old Joffrey Geldhart. I'm not too sure how old Somerville is, but he can't be much older. Rafinha's gone off injured on the 50-odd minute. We're still without Bamford, still without Firpo, still without Phillips, who obviously was in the matchday squad, but wasn't in the starting 11 or didn't feature. It's a very good point, isn't it?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It is an extremely good point. Wolves have a good team. They've picked up the form. They're full of really good players. Could even climb that table a little bit higher, I think, based on the talent in the squad. So especially coming off the back of that Southampton game, being on a bit of a low, and also, as you've mentioned, the unavailability issues we have at the moment with various people out. It's a very good point, but it's that thing of, in the context of how the game went, the fact that for a while in the game, especially after Wolves' goal, it was just wave after wave of Leeds' attack. You do kind of regret the fact that we didn't manage to end up with 3 points out of it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think because it was such a late equaliser, it felt a bit like a winner at the time. And obviously, I think Connor Cody's come out and said it feels like a bit of a loss. Let's get to that crucial moment then. Rodrigo slipping away the penalty in the 94th minute. His first goal of the season. It's a massive boost for him. For you, was it a penalty? Because from where I was in the cheese wedge, it looked like Semedo just shoved him over. Replays still showed that he shoved him, just maybe not as hard as I thought. For you, is it a penalty?
Yeah, it's an arm in the back, isn't it? It's a penalty. It's a soft one. It's one that you're kind of frustrated about when it goes against your team, but it's a penalty by the letter of the law. And if it's a penalty by the letter of the law, it's a penalty. Also by the letter of the law, Roman Sai should have been sent off probably for a challenge, an out of control challenge with excessive force. So I think we can't say Leeds have been lucky at all with the decisions in the match.
I must admit, at the time, I thought, "Oh, get up, Rafinha! Come on, just get up! Stop limping about." And then I've seen on Twitter afterwards the screenshots of him. He's not even looking at the Saïs onto Rafinha, and he's hobbled off. And he's obviously put on Instagram afterwards that he is fine. He did say, "I'll be back soon." So, how much confidence does that give you?
Yeah, a lot of confidence. I think he's a tough guy, is Rafinha. He grew up playing in really tough conditions
Yeah.
in Brazil. In fact, if anyone hasn't read his article he did with, is it the Players Tribune?
Yes. Was it the 11 facts about me or something like that?
Yeah, and it is a really great insight into kind of the sort of a football system in Brazil when you're not in the academies, but you're that kind of player that's maybe good enough to just about push towards the academies, as Rafinha was at that stage of his development. Looking at him now, you'd think, how did he ever struggle to get into academies? It's a great insight into the kind of a football environment in Brazil, the way they develop those players, but it doesn't seem like an environment where it's easy to develop at all.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really tough environment, and to come through that, I kind of think he can come through anything. I think for a tricky winger, he has got a real kind of toughness about him. He's got a real work rate about him as well, as we've always said about him. So yeah, I'm confident that if it isn't serious, if there's no damage, he'll shake it off and he'll be back on the pitch soon.
Yeah, going back to that article, I think it was like there was like loads of gangs as well in Brazil that he sort of grew up with as well, like a really hostile environment to come through. And on Saturday, he was absolutely phenomenal. I think he had the most. I think he had about 7 success, which I've seen might be the most of any Leeds player in the last 8 years. I've seen flying around Twitter. I was thinking, I mean, to be honest, the amount of players we've actually had who can take people on, it wouldn't surprise me. I think the last person who could probably do that was like Robert Snodgrass or Max Gradle or someone like that. But yeah, for me, if that gets looked at, and what I don't get is why VAR's not looking at that as a potential red card. I don't get why. I mean, I don't know if they have or not, but why there wasn't any sort of purple screen coming up or anything like that. VAR is a bit 50-50 so far, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it is trying to get involved a bit less this season. It's a concerted effort rather than them abandoning the job. But they've still got to get involved in kind of those clear cut incidents. Red card incidents are obviously something that it's always supposed to get involved in, as they're the big game changing ones. And I did watch Match of the Day last night, and both pundits on Jermaine Genius
Yeah.
and Martin Keown, as it turns out, both said it was a red card. I'm fairly confident it was a red card. It's that thing of I hate to compare it to the Harvey Elliott one, because obviously Harvey Elliott, he did end up quite badly injured.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen him back, but um, it was one of those things when Pascal Strauch, he got the ball, but the follow through happened to injure Elliott, caught him quite badly. But then even Harvey himself came out and said he doesn't think it was a red card for
Yeah.
Strauch, and tried to tell Liverpool fans to kind of lay off on Strauch a bit. He never meant to injure me. But I always felt Strauch was sent off just because of the severity to the injury of
Hmm.
Harvey Elliott. The referee didn't blow for it initially, but he came back to it. And I think comparing that to this Rafinha one, well, Roman size, he takes less of the ball than
Don't take
Strauch
any of the
did.
ball, does he?
Well, no, the ball ends up hitting his hand, and that's what the referee's blown up for. He's
Yeah,
blown up for a
I
free
know.
kick for handball. So yeah, his legs that he slid in with, nowhere near the ball, straight through onto Rafinha's ankle, and it looks nasty. And luckily, I think it's one of those where it's just Rafinha's managed to evade just enough contact to not have serious damage, because it is quite a big hit to the part of his ankle. It's almost like the back of the ankle that it
Yeah.
hits. So I think I think using that logic of considering that it's taking him off the pitch, that's what led to Strout getting sent off. So why is that, not led to Saiz getting sent off?
Exactly, and on Match of the Day, I watched it as well. They said the challenge was quite high up on his leg as well. It's not high up, but it's not on his foot or anything like that. It's on his ankle, and that's obviously what's taken Rafinha off. At that point, I was thinking, look, Rafinha's our only outsource here. I'm sort of preparing for relegation as he limps off down the tunnel that says "believe on it." Well, I'm doing the complete opposite at the time. But on Match of the Day, Martin Keown did label Geldhart as Lionel Messi, and when he came on, he completely changed the game. I must admit, from what I've seen from the under-20, I wasn't holding too much hope just because the jump is, I think, a lot bigger than people think, but not for young Joffy. He came on and absolutely ran the show. I think he got the Leeds Twitter man of the match for coming on for about half an hour, which maybe a bit of bias in there, but he fully deserved it. He actually ran at defenders, Kieran. He ran at defenders. It's what we've been missing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because it was another one of those games where we've had a lot of the ball in the right areas of the pitch, but we were met with, players parts back, some stern walls depended, and we were struggling to open it up and create good chances despite the amount of the ball we had. And it was just, what it took was Joe Gelhardt to just have the confidence to take the ball and run at people. And that's what finally caused Wolves to start open up. They couldn't deal with it. They were used to just having to deal with crosses that they could easily nod away and stuff like that. So being run at, they weren't prepared for that. And yeah, it's one of those things. Lionel Messi, obviously, we're not comparing him to him because what he was achieving at a younger age than Joe was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But if we just take that particular snapshot of the run, it does look like something that wouldn't have looked out of place on the number 10 shirt at Barcelona, which obviously is not there anymore. But yeah, for many years, because it's that kind of movement. It's just being able to change the direction of the ball, make big changes to the direction of the ball with little agile movements. And it's just opened up some space and caused Semedo to think, well, I've just got to bring him down whatever way I can. So hopefully more of that from Joe Gelhardt. I'm hoping to see more of him in the team because it's something we've missed. And in his cameos at Fulham in the Cup and at Southampton, he hadn't had much of a chance to show it. He didn't see that much of a ball. But against Wolves, as soon as he's seen some of the ball, it's not just that one that he's won the penalty with. There was also the chance he ended up in. He's made a good run, ended up in a bit of space and forced a save out of the Wolves keeper. And there was another one late on as well where he almost got us in for another. So yeah, it's good to see.
I think that one came off Somerville and the referee was really debating corner, goal kick, corner. Oh, just blow the whistle to save controversy. I was thinking, give that corner, give us a go, because we were really on top after that goal, of course. To be honest, coming on against Southampton, no one should come on in that game to try and even attempt to make a cameo. That game, taking that game completely out of the equation. And for me, this is his debut. And he's done fantastically well. The threat thing is, Wolves were frustrating me all game. It seemed as if they were time wasting a bit, which if Leeds are doing that, I'm praising us. So it works. I think to be honest, it works both ways. If you're a Wolves fan, you're just hoping that they can wind down the clock and try and get a second away win in a row. And obviously, if it wasn't for the penalty, then they would have done. It's just the constant cramp of the players going down, needing treatment, and it was just slowing the game down, which is a bit of karma. That's why they've sort of suffered. But one of their main threats, of course, goes without saying, is Adama Traore. And for me, Liam Cooper especially, and Jamie Shackleton as well, dealt with him fantastically.
Yeah, he is. He's a big threat because his ability to carry the ball is something we've struggled against those kind of players. I'm thinking back to that Newcastle game where Alan Saint-Maximin was just caused us constant problems. It was the only threat Newcastle had, but we couldn't deal with that one threat. And Adama Traore is similar to Saint-Maximin, but it's got another element where if you do manage to get close to him, he's strong and he can shove you off the ball. And Um, he's fantastic, and
Yeah.
we've dealt with it really well. I can't think of any danger that he's really created. So, um, yeah, a fantastic performance from Cooper and Shaq. But the whole defence really to just nullify that threat. That's the one threat that you're scared of. Well, Wolves have more than just that one threat, but he is that threat that you're most scared of out of all the attacking players that they have. And yet it it wasn't there to be seen really. So a good performance. It was a good defensive performance for the most part. It's just that one goal early on
Yeah,
within the 10th
exactly.
minute. Um, that was the only problem.
I was going to say, actually, throughout the whole game, they didn't create too many clear-cut chances. I think Melia had to just hold on to a couple of shots from distance from like Jimenez. You can tell Jimenez's quality, holding it up in sort of the centre circle, distributing it out to the wingers. You can tell they've got some quality attacking players, but I thought we nullified that threat of Adama Traore so well. And you only have to look back to last weekend when they played against Aston Villa, and he's just charging through their whole defence. And credit, to be honest, I think to Stuart Dallas, who I thought was phenomenal on Saturday. And we were talking last week, him and Click maybe not getting back to their usual heights that we've seen in the last couple of seasons. Click maybe still need to do a bit more to get there, but Dallas for me was super with James on that left-hand side in that second half. Feel a bit bad for Harrison coming off, obviously for Tyler Roberts who came on. Again, you can see the frustration with the crowd, but I can see what Roberts is trying to do. And at the end, he did a whole lap of the stadium. I think he gave a kid his shirt, which was nice. And you can tell he wants it for me. And just the abuse that he gets, I'm still like, just A, don't give it to him. B, I think you can see he's trying, but he may make his another appearance at the Emirates on Tuesday. I want to talk about that Wolves game. Rodrigo's passion after he scored. You can tell that relief that was sort of flowing out of him. The amount of pressure that was on that penalty, 94th minute. If he misses that, then I don't even want to know how the fans are going to react. But he's come away, kicked the corner flag away. It was some good scenes at Ellen Road.
Yeah, fantastic to see. It's good to see that fire within him as well. That passion for scoring in front of a full crowd at Ellen Road. And I think a lot of the passion also came from breaking that goal scoring duck as
Yeah.
well. And it's good. It's good to see that he's fired up because I feel like he has got a lot to offer, and he's probably frustrated that he hasn't really been offering it. So I think it could be a case of he just needed that bit of a boost, and maybe the floodgates will open. I'm not saying they are going to open because I'm not jinxing Rodrigo, but it's a possibility. I'll say, and yeah, he's always been a talented player, and I think we've always been able to see that. It's just he's found himself in that situation where he struggles to put forward his talents in certain games. He can find himself completely out of the game, and you can't carry players really. Not in our system and not in the Premier League. You can't carry players, but I think he does deserve recognition as well. We're calling it his first goal of the season, but we've got to remember Newcastle's decision
Yeah.
to do that lovely little dummy led to the goal, led to Rafinha scoring from a cross, a really nice cross, but a cross nonetheless. So he's shown flashes even this season when he's drawn a lot of criticism. He's still shown flashes, and
Yeah.
it's time for him to stop showing flashes and just start showing it consistently.
Well, he may get a bit of a consistent run. He's obviously had a run with Bamford out. It looks like Bamford may be back on Saturday against Norwich. He certainly doesn't look like he's going to be back on Sunday against Norwich, sorry. But on Tuesday against Arsenal, it doesn't look like you're going to see Rodrigo up front. What sort of lineup would you like to see play at the Emirates? Because it's the Carabao Cup. A trophy's a trophy. Only City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, and Arsenal from your so-called Big Six are still left in it. Obviously, Arsenal are the team that we're going to be facing. What sort of lineup would you like to see take on Arsenal at the Emirates on Tuesday?
Well, I definitely would like to see us rotate.
who,
I do.
who
I do
can
think
you rotate with our squad at the moment?
that's what I'm just thinking. I mean, Arsenal will probably rotate a bit. I do think it is going to be those semi-rotations where you've got some first team players out and then a few of the usual substitutes. For us, I mean, it's Somerville, isn't it? Let's see him start. If
Yeah,
I, well, Rafinha might be injured for starters, so uh, he'll need to rest. Even if it did turn out he was just about fit to play, definitely need to rest. You're not going to risk him. Maybe try and give Harrison or Dan James a rest as well. Joe Gelhardt to start maybe.
yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
just see what he can do when given a full game to impose himself on. I'd also
Well,
say Tyler Roberts, as you've mentioned, probably starts as well. See if he can just find that bit of confidence
yeah,
um, because he needs it. He so clearly needs it. So yeah, we can't rotate too much, like you say, because we don't really have much to rotate with. But
players.
Charlie Creswell as well, just a few of these, um, just little changes where you can make them.
I was going to say, well, the line up against Fulham was a 4-1-4-1. Meslier in goal, Firpo at left back, two centre backs of Phillips and Cresswell with Dallas at right back, Shackleton in the sort of Phillips role, James on the left, Somerville on the right, Rodrigo and Click in the middle, and Roberts up front. Maybe Roberts and Rodrigo were interchanging a bit. Geldart came on, Forshaw came on, and McKinstry came on in the 75th minute. Now, Firpo's not going to be available. Apart from that rest of that starting 11 probably is going to be available. I can see Meslier starting again. Whether he risks Phillips or not, just the point where who can we rotate in? Would Forshaw start? I guess it's not like Bielsa would be deemed as not taking the cup seriously. It's just he almost doesn't have any other choice. But these players, especially the likes of Click and Dallas and even James to an extent and Roberts, should be used to the sort of Saturday, Tuesday. Of course, you've got to remember our trip to Norwich is on a Sunday as well. So we've been given that extra day's rest. Arsenal played Monday and Friday this week, both at the Emirates, but both similar lineups as well. Is there a sort of a shout that if Bielsa is to name a very similar lineup to the one that played on Saturday against Wolves, potentially with Calvin in there as well, if there are to be injuries, do you think he could come under criticism? Because I think we've just got to sort of go for it in this game, because I think chucking the young players out, like all the under-23s, would sort of be doing the cup a bit of an injustice.
No, I think it would be nice to see a relatively strong lineup and for us to go for it, but I don't think we need to be at full strength to give
Okay.
Arsenal a good game, because I don't think Arsenal will be at full strength either.
Mm.
So that's why I'd like to see Charlie come in and get more minutes, because he showed
Yeah.
in the West Ham game he was one of his better players. He showed that he's maybe ready to step up, and with Gelhardt as well, I think he looks like he's maybe starting to show he's ready to get more first team minutes. Somerville for certain looks like he's ready to get more first team minutes. So I would still like to see these players come in and get given a go. As part of a semi-rotation, so we've still got a lot of the main players out to give ourselves the best chance of winning it. And also, when you're just chucking a load of young players to play together, as we did against Hull at the start of last season, that causes problems, because you're essentially playing your under-23s for a senior game, and it
Yeah.
doesn't give them a platform where they can show their best selves. So if you just do these little changes, give Gelhardt a game alongside Rodrigo, give Somerville space on one wing, but with Jack Harrison or Dan James on the other, it gives these young players more of a platform to show that they're ready for first team football, because they're actually playing alongside first team players, and that's why I'd like to see that kind of lineup.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point, mate. Very, very good point you make. And you said Arsenal may not necessarily start their strongest 11 in their last game in the cup when they beat Wimbledon. So obviously, no disrespect to Wimbledon, a weaker side than us. They did have some first-team players in there. Partey was playing, Lacazette was playing, but the majority of it, Leno obviously isn't a first-team player now. Cedric Holding, Pablo Mari, Tavares, Lokonga, Maitland-Niles, Martinelli, Nketiah, and Lacazette. With the thing is, because they're not in any Europa League competitions, are they, Arsenal, this season? They're just like us playing the domestic. They might want to give this a bit of a go now. So I can see them lining up with a stronger lineup. Is there any chance, do you think we'll see Ben White come up against his old team again?
Yeah, I think it's like you say. I think they'll play a stronger 11 against us than they did against Wimbledon for definite. I don't think they'll go quite wholesale with the changes. I think it'll be similar to kind of what I'm suggesting for us, where it's not going to be quite the first 11, but it's not going to be kind of a second 11 either. And I can see maybe Ben White playing. I could see maybe Alexandre Lacazette playing. But I could also see maybe Rob Holding come in or a Cedric come in. So I think they'll be on a semi-rotation as well. And like I say, I think a half-rotated Leeds against a half-rotated Arsenal, I think we've got a chance. So yeah, I don't think they'll be quite at the strongest, but I don't think they'll play as weak an 11, as rotated an 11 as we did against Wimbledon. Because they'll be looking at this cup and thinking we have a chance now for definite with the teams left in, with the fact that they've got the least fixture congestion out of the bigger sides, out of the sides that have compared to the sides that have qualified for Europe. Arsenal will definitely be looking at this for a chance of silverware. It'll do big things for Arteta as well, because Arteta floats between the fans quite liking him as a decent young manager and also having big pressure on him because they take a couple of bad results and people say, well, he's not ready, he's not good enough yet. So a trophy would do big things for Arteta as it did for him when he won the FA Cup a couple of seasons back. So I think Arteta will be keen. So there is a chance that Arsenal do come out quite strong.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, I'm sure whatever lineup we play, whatever lineup they play, whatever the result, I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic night out for the Leeds fans. I imagine we've sold out. We probably sold out before the game was even announced for ticketing, vacation that we've got for those persistent standing Leeds fans. So I expect to see all the Leeds fans sat down at the game on Tuesday. I'll be watching it on the TV, but no, it'll be a fantastic occasion. Obviously, going back to the Emirates, we played there in the FA Cup a couple of seasons ago. It was like Bielsa's first chance to really show the Premier League fans what him and his Leeds side can do. I remember Robbie Gott's got his debut, one of his only appearances for Leeds that in his time at the club. And if we'd have scored our chances in the first half, we could have easily won that game. So Arsenal are there for the taking. Obviously, if they name a strong lineup, we'll be facing them in the league anyway. So, it'll be good to see what our lads can do against them. Let's get a score prediction from you, Kieran. Are we going to be progressing through to the next round of the Cup?
I'm going to send this one to penalties. I've been predicting draws all the time recently, haven't I? So you know what? It's a Leeds win on penalties. It's a 1-1 draw, and then we win on penalties.
Okay. Did you predict a draw for the Wolves game?
I think I did, yeah.
I think you did, yeah.
A lot of draws, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to start doing a proper point system on these predictions because they're becoming a bit pointless if I don't actually keep a record. We'll start from now. Okay, we'll start from now. We'll put a leaderboard up and we'll see who's the most knowledgeable out of us in terms of Leeds United predictions. For me on Tuesday, I'm going to go for. Do you know what? I'm going to go 0-0, and then it goes straight to penalties, isn't it? So I'm going to go Leeds on penalties as well. I think we'll just do it. I can see an Eddie Nketiah winner though. I can see him doing the little dialing in phone thing in front of the Leeds fans, just thinking, no, don't do it. But yeah, hopefully we can progress through into the next round of the Cup on Tuesday. But if we don't, we've got another chance to make amends. On Sunday, as we take a trip to Carrow Road to face Norwich. Now, already as you look at the season fixtures, Norwich is always one of those where you think, okay, we should be taking 3 points. In the state they're in at the moment, after losing 7-0 to Chelsea on Saturday, you think about that even more. But you think even more, Kieran, don't you, that we're going to be that team that gives them that first win?
they really need to see a reaction, and that's what I'm scared of. You should be coming into a game against a team on the back of a 7-0 loss. You should be so confident. You should be so confident. But I'm just
Why is it?
thinking,
Why is it that we're so scared?
well, I just think Norwich are at their absolute lowest now. They have hit kind of rock bottom. They've had a bad start to the season, but losing 7-0, even if it's against Chelsea, losing 7-0 is just
Yeah.
ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. So I think there's nothing more dangerous than facing a team at an all-time low, because that's when they start to go out and think we've got nothing to lose here. And honestly, I'm scared. I'm fearful of this game now. If Chelsea had have only managed a 2-0 win against Norwich, I'd be coming into this. I mean, if Norwich had nicked a draw against Chelsea, I think I'd have been coming in more confident than I am right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a game that we've got to win. Looking at where Norwich are, looking at where we are, um, we really need to compound that misery for them. We really need to just get some more points on the board. And 3 points would feel like a massive boost at the moment, and we're coming up against the worst team in the league. I can say that confidently. They are the
Yeah.
worst team in
Yeah.
the league, and yeah, I think there's just no excuse for not taking 3 points here.
I think the thing is, it's like Sheffield United last season. It's you don't want to be that team that gives them their first win. You don't want to be that team that starts them off against teams who are in a bad run of form. They've got nothing to go out there for. Prime example of that are Watford on Saturday beating Everton 5-2 after being beaten by Liverpool 5-0 the week before. And they were not in that game at all. A bit like Norwich on Saturday against Chelsea. They were not in that game at all. Do you think I think more and more when we spoke about the sacking of the Watford manager, and obviously they've replaced him with Claudio Ranieri, and he's had a very good result on Saturday. Do you think that manager and other managers are looking at Daniel Farke going, you have got to be on some sort of borrowed time here, mate? Because we can see what Watford are doing now with Ranieri, a fantastic result. It seems like Norwich is just so is what he'd done for them in the Championship, getting them promoted twice. Surely he's got to go if this form carries on.
Yeah, it's for me. I don't know. I was full of kind of praise for him initially, because I do like it reminded me of Burnley when they got promoted for the first time under Sean Dyche. They went straight back down. People kind of forget about that now because they feel like they've
Yeah.
been an ever present, but they did. They went straight back down. They were in the Championship in the 15-16 season, I think, and Dyche took them straight back up, and everyone said that just shows, sticking with your manager despite relegation, the manager that took you there in the first place, it can come back to have a positive effect. But recently we've seen these promoted teams, I'm thinking Fulham, West Brom, they've been so desperate to try and stay in the Premier League that they have tried to make changes when they've been in there. There was that season where Fulham went through. I forgot who was the manager who took them up, but then they ended up going through Ranieri and ending the season with Scott
Yeah.
Parker.
Was
Uh,
that when Jukanovic took him up, was it? It might have
that
been.
might have been, yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does seem the thing now for promoted teams that are in a relegation battle to make that change and to see if they can stay in the Premier League, because it's just lucrative for the owners for every aspect of the club being in the Premier League. So I'm at this point now with Daniel Farke. I'm thinking, does he just have a squad that should be getting promoted from the Championship anyway? Like,
Yeah.
that's the minimum expectation when he's been in the Championship, and maybe those Championship promotions aren't too big of an achievement, because it's a second time they've been in the Premier League under him. First time out, they had a couple of good results early in the season, but then they just
Yeah, they started
weren't
really well.
they weren't competitive for the rest of the season. And then this season, they just haven't started even competitive at all. So you
Hmm.
do think that maybe he's not up to it. Maybe a change is needed. But that goes against kind of what I've said in the past, that you should stick with the manager that's taking you up. So I don't know. All it shows is that I'm fickle, really.
It's a weird one. I think the Norwich board are quite nice, friendly, kind of loyal to their managers. That I feel like Farke will get a good period of this season to try and turn it around. I agree with you. The first promotion promotion that he had, well, that's all we're going to say on it. They weren't that good at the start of the season. Do you remember? We went to their place, we won 3-0, battered them. I don't think they'd won a game yet, or they won in the midweek. I think they'd only won once at that point. They weren't looking like a promotion side at all, and then they went and stormed the league and won the league. I think that was a very good achievement. Second time around in the Championship, from what I know about Norwich, I feel like they were the favourites. They had a very, very good squad. Oliver Skipp was fantastic for them, who's obviously back at Spurs now. Pukki was completely firing, and obviously they had Emi Buendia, who they've lost in the summer, who hasn't really hit it off with Aston Villa either. So Norwich fans are probably looking at him going, well, you're not doing too great at Villa. I don't know what their form is meant to be like in the Premier League. I watch a Norwich YouTube channel, Talk Norwich City it is, and forgive me if I get this stat wrong. I'm pretty sure I watched on their review of the Chelsea game last night, and this is just going to make you even more scared for Sunday, Kieran, so close your ears if you don't want to hear this. I'm pretty sure he said that in their last 19 Premier League games, so that includes the back end of the 1920 season when Project Restart and all that stuff, they haven't won any games. They've drawn 2 and lost 17, and they've collected 2 of a possible about 57 points in their last 19 Premier League games, which, again, not to scare you, but if we let them get any sort of 3 points win on Sunday, then it just really just puts us in a bad position, doesn't it, mentally? But
yeah, it definitely. It's only going to be a confidence knock, isn't it? A confidence knock that isn't needed, because I feel like his confidence has been knocked already quite a bit this season. To go to a team that they just haven't been competitive at all in the Premier League for so long now. If we're taking 2 seasons ago into account, so it's one of those you worry for what it'd do to our mentality, to the confidence of our players if we didn't win it. So yeah, I think that's why it's particularly scary, even though it's one we should be confident about. We just know the consequences.
yeah,
if we don't win, the consequences it'll have for the confidence of his players, and also the confidence of his fan base as well. Because you can just imagine what Twitter would be like after not getting a positive result against
I don't
Norwich
even
City.
want to touch that app if we lose. I don't even want to touch that app. I feel like maybe I'm being a bit too negative here. Let's bring on the positives. Bamford pre-Wolves press conference that Bamford and Ayling will be missing the next 2 games, as well as Firpo, and I'm pretty sure that means the Arsenal game, because he said Firpo should be okay for Norwich. So Bamford could be back. Phillips should be back to full fitness. Firpo back. Ayling might make the bench as well. So already we're seeing a lot stronger squad, and on paper, on the table, on recent form, we should be going there and we should be taking all 3 points. I don't even think we should be settling for a draw. I mean, to be honest, Brighton have gone and drawn there. I'm not too sure if anyone else in the league, but I remember Josh Sargent missed an absolute sitter against Brighton where his shot didn't even reach the goal, and the Brighton defender just came across and cleared it. I don't even know if he was needed to be there. I don't even know if it's going to make the goal. So, look, they've shown positive-ish signs. They look like they can score a goal. They haven't scored a goal they've only scored 1 goal from open play. They've scored more own goals than open goals from open play this season. Positive thoughts. We should be going into this and getting 3 points. And when we do lose 1-0 to a Pukki goal in the 90th minute, you can come back to this and you can laugh at me, because we should be going into this positively. Let's get some score predictions from you, Kieran.
Yeah, so I just want to say it has sounded quite negative as preview of the Norwich game, but that's only because we know what the consequences could be. But like you say, it's mostly good signs. It was an improved performance against Wolves, a much improved performance against Wolves. If we go to get anywhere near that performance level, then we should be good for at least a 2-0 win.
Good. I like it. I like the confidence. I'm going to go 3-0. Let's replicate what we did in Bielsa's first couple of games in charge. A nice 3-0 win. Who was it? Klick scored that day. Alioski scored and Hernandez scored. So 2 of the players aren't there. So it could be a 1-0 win with only a Klick goal. That's That's more than fine for me. That's more than fine. I'll take a nice convincing win. Just silence that crowd early. Look, it's a Sunday kickoff, 2:00 kickoff, I think, on Sky on Halloween. Let's hope for no trick or treats at Carrow Road. That'll be put all over the newspapers if they are to get all 3 points. But get out early, shut the fans up, stop the atmosphere, and hopefully we can kick on then from there. Because who have we got after Norwich? Do you know?
No, not off the top of my head.
Is it Leicester at home? Is it Leicester? I think it might be that last game before the international break. That Leicester games, which obviously won't be an easy game. So let's try and go in there. A 3-0. That should see us through that week. 2 games to look forward to then next week for Leeds United fans. So we won't be waiting too long for our next turnaround. First to the Emirates, then to Carrow Road. Thank you very much to everyone who joined and watched the Bremner Square podcast. I should hopefully be able to get this up on Spotify later on. So if you didn't miss it, you can catch it on Spotify, and it might be on Apple Music as well. We'll need to double check that. But thank you very much for everyone who watched and joined in. Thank you very much to Kieran as always. And we will see you hopefully after 2 good results against Arsenal.